Good morning, my gorgeous friends on the internet. It's day 50 of quarantine. The floor is the way of living life now. I decided a whole different perspective down here, which I enjoy. I also found these lighting balls on the ground, which I didn't see so far. And these turn on, so let me show you real quick. They don't have batteries. There we go. And it's kind of hard to believe, but this brings back a lot of memories for me. Ever since I was a child, I used to go down the street and I always loved the ground. It was soft, it had a specific feeling to it. And whenever we were kids, we used to play a lot on the floor, which he started, I don't know when he did that, like hitting a group together, and we started kissing each other, and it was very nice. But I didn't notice there was a guy, and she kind of slipped over and lost her virginity. There's really not that much to do today, so I thought we're gonna do a UI design challenge, and I'm gonna create a web design only using one color. That's the whole challenge, only using one color. So I picked the color red, and this is what we're gonna build right here. And I highly recommend you to try this out as well. Create a website only using one color and send it to me over to Twitter so I can take a look at it, and then I can cry. Before we get into the UI challenge, or as I like to call it, I want to thank today's sponsor of this episode, DevEd. DevEd is a wannabe programming channel on YouTube, but he's very bad at it, so he tries to hide it using his comedy. Okay, so we are gonna learn how to do these keyframes. Now, if we type transform, as you can see, translate 10, and hit save, damn it. He is also planning on making a cooking course. So this recipe takes 3 eggs? Alright. And he's actually very burned out with programming, so he's planning to creating his own tech channel. This is the new light bulb I got. It's a light bulb. It has a warm color to it. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any other colors to it, like RGB, but this is what you get. So I just put it inside the light here. What did I do? Mom! So go to developbyed.com and check out his courses now with a special discount of $10,000. Okay, let's get going. So make sure you get Figma, or you can actually just open it up in the browser. I'm gonna go here. You can hit plus if you want. I have a new untitled document and I'm just gonna pop that open. Okay, so here is what we're presented with. And again, let's just create a frame, so it's kind of like the size of the monitor, and here you can do frames like iPhone frame. So if you want to do multiple designs depending on the screen, well, you can do it here. So go to the frame, and as you can see, we have a bunch of options. Now I'm just gonna do this for desktop. Here's a cool challenge. You can remake this for iPhone or for mobile, but we're just gonna stick with desktop. So let's hit desktop, and yeah, this is what we have here. Okay, now I also want to give you kind of the process of just picking this one color, because we're using one color here not only to stylize our website but also to emphasize certain things. So again, this is why it's important, and you can get by just using one color, because everybody jumps in using a whole rainbow, and we don't need the rainbow. One color is good. So I'm going to give you the process of also taking everything from scratch and editing out a picture to make it look the way I want. So I found this camera here, the Leica camera, and this has kind of like an orangey color, blah, 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 and some other weird color going on here. So I kind of want to take this and make it my own and just stick to that one color. So I'm going to drag this in Affinity Photo. You can do it with Photoshop or anything that you want. I'm using Affinity Photo. So again, these files are going to be added in the description, so if you're lazy and you don't want to do this, or you don't have the program, you can just copy paste them. But I do want to show you the process. So what I do is I just drag this in here, drop it in here, and I basically just cut this thing out from the background, because that's the only thing that we need. So this is going to take a bit of time, but you go here to the pen tool, right? Hit the P for party, and then we're just gonna crop this out. So I'm just gonna go and drag like this, and just go and crop everything out nicely. Okay, there it is. I did it kind of fast, so it doesn't look that good because I'm not gonna use this one, but I just cropped it really fast here with a pen tool, and then I'm just gonna hit mask here. So that's only gonna give me this whole thing. Okay, so what I can do here is I can actually kind of just mess around and see how this is gonna go on my page. So I can just drag like a rectangle here, like that, perfect. And then just drag this rectangle down below and change the fill here to kind of what I want. So maybe something like that, a very dark grayish color is gonna look good. So now I'm gonna lock this here by pressing the lock, unlock this, drag it kind of in the center. What I wanna do is remove the colors first and then just add back the ones I want. So here I can go to adjustments, I can go down to black and white. That's gonna make everything black and white. Wow, amazing. What I can also do is adjust these things here. As you can see, like the colors in the image, I can darken them or lighten them up. Even though it's black and white, we still have some control over it here. But I'm gonna just leave it default like this. I'm gonna go here to adjustments again and recolor. And as you can see, that's gonna turn everything into one color. Now here, again, I can mess and pick out the color I want. In this case, I did red, so I'm gonna leave it at red. Just maybe mess around with the saturation, maybe a not such a strong red, maybe something like that. And then again, I can do and adjust kind of the lightness of it. So something like that. All right. Now what I can do, I don't want to apply this to the whole image. I just want the lens there to show that color. So what I can do on this recolor thing is I can hit Control and I, and that's going to invert the mask. So now it looks like I didn't do anything. But what I can do now is hit B for the brush. I can go to the brush here, zoom in, and now if I pick the white color here, if I draw, as you can see, I can draw it back, whichever part I want to recolor. So I'm going to make this bigger and kind of recolor the lens here. I can make this a bit less smooth, so I can change the flow down a bit like that, and then go a bit slower. All right, so what you do, I'm gonna do a rough job here again, just to kind of illustrate what I did. All right, just go and kind of draw this back in like that. Maybe the logo here, you can also draw that back with the red color. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can do some final adjustments here, maybe add a bit more contrast or mess around with that. For that, you can go here either to the levels, click that, drag the black level a bit down and this one a bit up. That's going to give it more contrast. Or you can change the gamma here and bring it down to the right to darken the image up like that. All right, just adding a bit more contrast. So that's kind of it. You just grab everything here, you group it with Control G and just export this. Or you can get rid of this rectangle. Basically, you grab this thing, file, export, and you just do PNG. And the area here you select without the background. All right, we don't want anything else, just the actual camera. So you export that and you're pretty much done. And that goes to the whole process with the other things such as the lens here. Again, kind of the same thing I did. I just found a lens picture of the internet. Pexels, Unsplash, those are great websites you can check out. And just kind of black and white, add the red. That's the whole thing. All right, so I'm gonna attach these images for you to be available. All right, and here's a girl without her head with flowers. Okay, so let's get going. Let's go back here. I'm just gonna drag in the image that I did, which is here. Yeah, where is you? Where is you? So many files open, oh my goodness. Drop this in here, make this kind of smaller, holding Shift, and kind of center it right there. Okay, so again, I think this looks good with a like darker background, so it looks a bit more sleek. So what we can do is go here to the desktop. I'm going to rename this to landing page. All right, just double clicking that thing. There we go. Now I can go to the landing page and we can change the color by going here to the fill. So if I drag this down, something like that. Now a great way you can add emphasis to this whole thing is using a gradient. So what I can do is kind of darken the edges here of this page and kind of focus towards the center. All right, so this is going to be the brighter spot and these are going to be the darker ones. Again, that's kind of emphasizing and putting focus towards the center of the page. So we can go to the landing page, fill, and we can change this to radial like that. Now this looks terrible, but we're going to fix this. We're going to go to the second one. We're going to bring up the opacity. And what I'm going to do is just bring this color down like that. As you can see, that's going to darken it up So something like that. Okay, and this one I can bring up a bit, something like that. Again, it's kind of drawing your attention towards the center because everything is dark towards the middle. Again, see here, like we're not really using colors. We're using, I guess, contrast to emphasize because we just have black and white here. But here it's brighter and here is darker. So our attention starts going towards the center. And again, since this is colored here with red, it's gonna put even more emphasis on it. Okay, so that's kind of what we have. You can change this gradient to kind of mess around with it. Maybe you want it wider or close it in a bit more. I'm gonna leave it like this. So that's gonna look fine. Okay, so next up, we can maybe make this bigger. We're gonna see kind of how this fits here in this whole thing, but I wanna center this. Now I wanna add some, let's do some text here. I'm gonna do it kind of to the side here. So here for the font, I mean, you can do something like this. I can write Leica M6, which is the name of it. And let's make this bigger because you don't want to leave it this small. I'm gonna make this white. And here you can change the font size to, let's do 50, bam. Okay. Maybe it's bigger, 80. Okay, something like that. Now this looks okay, but again, it doesn't really have any style. So what I want to do is kind of find the font that makes this look sleek and nice. So what I recommend is going to Google Fonts and see kind of what emotion this invokes for you. And you can even go here and kind of mess around with this. I mean, see, like this one looks kind of weird. This one looks a bit kind of cartoony. So I don't think it fits the style of the camera because the style of the camera is very sleek, nice looking, stylish. Yeah, that's kind of the font I'm looking for, stylish. I found one that's kind of drawn in a nice way. Let me see how it, okay, it's Lobster, that's the name of it. Great, now I'm hungry. Why you do this? So let's write Lobster, hit enter. As you can see, that looks pretty nice and stylish. So I think it fits the camera. Okay, let me see what font size. Let's do it bigger, 100. Okay, so very large like that. Now, don't worry about positioning these things for now. Just drop it there. We're just kind of we're going with the flow now and see kind of how we can put this together. So just drop the text wherever you want. There, good, perfect. Let's add some description to this. So for that, let's do it down here. So I'm kind of going for a diagonal look here. But because we could do it like this, like here's the main title, here's the camera, and then down here we have some text. So let's do a text down here. Let's call this small but powerful, like that. Here I'm gonna change this one. let me see what I used, I forgot. We used the font of Montserrat. Okay, so let's change this to Montserrat. There we go. Let's make this a bit bold, medium. Let's do bold and make this way smaller, something like 24. Okay, 24. Drop it here, make it white because we cannot see what's going on. So something like that. Or maybe a bit bigger, 30. There we go. Again, we can go for this style of vertical, but I think that looks a bit boring and not that interesting. So I thought that this is gonna look a bit nicer. So we have the kind of the title of the camera here. Our focus is in the center with the camera, and then we have some small descriptions here to the side. Okay, so that's kind of the style I'm going for. Again, this is kind of personal. You could pull off something like that, that's fine, or kind of mess around with this and go something like that. Here, it's all about kind of feel, I guess, and see what fits and what you like and what you don't. Okay. So I'm gonna drop this here. Again, we're not finished with kind of positioning everything. I'm just going for the feel here. So another way, like we can use color here too. I can get the red if I want. So I can sample, let's sample the red from there. I could do something like that. But again, another way you can emphasize text. So here I actually want to have a subtitle, which you can copy and paste here. I'm gonna add it right here. All right, so just some random text, is by changing the font type. All right, we had bold here, so kind of looks the same, but I can add a regular here. And as you can see, that puts more emphasis on this one because it's thicker, it's nicer, and also, again, with contrast, the thing we did with the background. If this is the same contrast as this, it looks the same, like important-wise, right? But since this has a different font, it's not bold anymore, it's regular, and it's darker, so like dark gray. As you can see now, this one sticks out way more, and that's just because of contrast. So again, the whole challenge here is to not use color almost at all. Just stick to one and use contrast to get your point across. So something like that is fine. You can copy this text over, you can just add whatever you want. Okay, let's create the logo. So I'm gonna use kind of this fancy font again, and I believe the Leica logo looks kind of like this anyway, so let's replicate that. Super simple, just go here to the circle, hold shift, drag out the small little circle, like that. Let's do 60, and go to the text, click. Let's change the font size to something like 18. I lost it, click again, and I'm just gonna write Leica, like that. Make sure you have the lobster font and change this to white. Grab everything white, and this one is gonna get that red. So fill, pick the color of this lens. There we go. So now we can drag this in here, kind of drop it in the center, just like that. And now we can hold this one, hold shift, grab the text, Control G or right click. It's here somewhere, I have no idea. But I just do Control G, that's gonna group, and I'm gonna rename this to logo. Super simple. You don't need something crazy going on here, like, wow, look at my logo, amazing. Now we're just gonna keep it super simple like that. Okay, now let's do some text here. So let me show you a cool new feature that Figma has. We can go here to the text and we're going to create some nav links. So I'm going to call this specs. I'm going to change this to montserrat, keep it simple. Montserrat, there we go. Change this to white. I have to grab it, there we go. Let's do medium. Okay, there we go. And now take a look, something super cool. I'm going to right click on this and say add auto layout. And as you can see, that's kind of going to drop it into kind of like a group here. It's like a frame. I'm gonna rename this to nav links. Nav links. Now check this out. I can grab the text here, the specs, Control C, Control V. So duplicating, or you can right click. It's here somewhere. I just know the shortcuts. So Control V, that's gonna create a new one. Control V, that's gonna create a new one. Now take a look. We have a little thing going on here, this auto layout thing. So take a look, I can go to the nav links now and just add some space to it if I want to. Space between items, I can drag this up, look at that, add space in between. How cool. I can do it horizontally, vertically as well. Super, super cool. I'm gonna go back here, 10 and 10, that's gonna be fine. Because you can add a background to this, like that, a fill, and just change the color of this. So now the cool thing is, if I write more text here, look, it actually stretches it out. So super, super cool. You can do this to buttons and all the good stuff. And I'm going to show you how to do it on the card system that we're going to check out in just a bit. But take a look. I can rename this to news, maybe, specs and news. And this one is going to be pre-order or order, just like that. Now I'm going to go to the nav links, get rid of the fill. I'm not going to use a fill on it. And take a look. I can even click on these and just drag and drop them and put them wherever I want super easily. Super nice. So let's go with the news here at the beginning. And what I also want to do is, what do I want to do? Let me show you something cool. You can even change the layout position. So from horizontal to vertical, you can mess around with this like that. You can also add different things to it. So I can grab this and just drop it in here if I want, and it's automatically gonna grow in size. So let me go back. So this is super, super powerful. Let me go back here to horizontal, just drop it in here, kind of match the logo, bring it to the side. And now here, I actually want to grab this order and just add a fill to it. So let's do order. I'm gonna hit plus. Oh wait, I'm adding a gradient to this. I don't want to do that. I can also grab the order and add an auto layout to it. So add auto layout. And now I can add a background to this. So let's go here to the order, fill, and I'm gonna add that red again. Oh, it's actually here. So you can click that, just like that. And the text fill, let me grab the actual text. Let me go back here, order, and change this to white. Okay. Again, the frame here that we added to the text has the red, and the text here has white. Okay, let's go to the frame here, and we can add a border to it. So let's go a radius like 10. Make this a bit rounder. And again, I can go to the frame and I can adjust the padding if I want. So let's stretch this out to something like 20 here. Okay, there we go. Again, kind of move it, position it the way I want, roughly. And now, let's add a footer, and then we're gonna perfectly position everything. So for this one, I'm just gonna drag out a rectangle here. Let's go to the rectangle, drag one out, make this a bit smaller, like something like that. Okay, I'm gonna change the color of this to black, like that, so it gives a bit of, you know, it's the footer here. But again, I don't want this to be super obvious, like that. All right, this kind of, I think it's, your attention goes too much to the footer if it's white here like that. So I want this to be a bit more subtle. And obviously I'm not gonna do the red. That's gonna bring too much attention to it, I feel like. So like a dark, like super black here, I think it looks nice. Sleek, not too much attention. So now I went to the wonderful site of Font Awesome, or whichever, I'm not even sure. Which one was it? Font Awesome? Icons? I searched icons. Flaticon, that's the one. And I just searched Twitter, Instagram, and all those wonderful things. So I downloaded them. I'm just gonna bring them in here. 1, 2, 3, drag them here. Now there are different colors, so don't worry about that. What I'm gonna do is resize all of these to like 35. So holding Shift, just bring this down to around 35. Actually, we can just go here. We can go here and just make this 35 like that, and 35 here. Well, that looks a bit stretched out, so I don't think we did it properly. Let me open up, let me go here to the actual brands and logo types, because this is kind of stacked here in multiple groups. So just to the big one up here, and just add 35 to both of these like that. Why is it gone? Oh, it's up here. Oh, that's too small. I'm just gonna do this manually. I just kind of resize this, holding Shift, something like that. And I can go here to the fill and change it to white. Nice. And I'm gonna do the same thing to all of these. Change this to white. Let's just go up here to this big level again and just change everything to white and just drag this down, holding Shift. Okay, so 35, something like that. This as well, to white, drag it in here. See, again, sometimes you click on this and you want to drag it and you kind of mess everything up. So make sure you're grabbing this whole thing. Okay, so I'm gonna change this to black, this part, like that. So grab the whole thing, holding Shift, 35-ish, drag it in here. Okay, so something like that. The struggle. All right, let's just move them here and kind of add some space to them. What we can also do here is grab all of these and add an auto layout like that. And then I can just go here to the frame and rename this to social links. And then just add some spacing here. I kind of resized everything here to match a bit nicer, and I'm gonna drop it here. And you can also kind of move these around, which is super nice. So that's good. And finally, let's just add some text here and say Leica 2020. Grab everything, change the fill to white and the font size to lobster to make this fancy looking. Okay, so now how can we position everything nicely? We can go up here to, what is this thing here? Let me remove it. What we can do is we can go to the landing page. We can select layout grid, hit the plus here. Let me see if I'm still recording. Okay, and go to the grid. I'm gonna change the opacity here to 25, the color to something else so we can see. So grab a blue one or a pink one. Let's do 50. There we go. And then here from grid, I'm gonna go to columns. I'm gonna change this to 12, count 12. And now I can kind of position everything the way I want. And if you want to build this site out, you can use a grid with 12 or bootstrap, and it's going to be super simple to position everything. So now basically I can have these first two as margins, and I can start my content from the second one. So again, I can basically take my logo and just position it here till it kind of clicks to the edge. And you can do this vertically as well if you want to. And same goes here. I'm just gonna bring this all the way to the end. All right, so it kind of snaps there. Now this content has some white space here, so I don't really want that. So I can go here to the margin and bring this to 0, or padding, my apologies. So now I can stick it there at the end. Okay, just like that. Now let me bring this down so it matches the text here. Okay, and then just across like that. I can do the same thing with these. Just bring this to the edge. All right, so all the content is now matching up very, very nicely. We can do the same thing with the camera. So maybe I want this to stretch from this column all the way to this column. So I can stretch this out right there. Okay, so 2 spaces, 2 spaces. From the text as well, I can grab everything and just bring it all the way here. All right, from this position. Okay, same thing with these. Bring it all the way to the end there. And this one right there. And again, just match it up with the Twitter there, right in the center, just like that. Okay, and that's pretty much how you set everything up nicely. So now we can just toggle the button here, the eye tool, and now everything is pretty much nicely positioned. And again, if you have a different style, you want to do this differently, maybe you want the content to be like this. Well, again, kind of the same thing applies. Just make sure you have the grid set up nicely, and you can come up with a setup. As long as things match nicely, it's gonna look pretty nice. Now, it can look a bit more boring or nicer, so that's why I'm saying you can kind of mess around with the positions and drag things in different places. But as long as it follows a decent grid and positioning things, it's gonna look nice. Look, like if I do this here and this like that, see, it doesn't look that nice anymore, just because things are not positioned nicely. So let's bring everything back up like that. Okay, and now we can start making the second page. So I'm gonna just grab this one, Control C, Control V, just creating a duplicate and dragging it down like this. I'm gonna close these up, grab the second page, rename this to cards page, like that. Now here, I don't need the camera, so I'm gonna get rid of this, like that. I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna get rid of these two as well. And what I wanna do now is just create a card system. So let's rename this to features or something like that. Okay. Now what I wanna do is go here. Let's create a card system. What do I need for that? We need some text. Basically, let me kind of show you what we're going for. Something like this. All right, something like this. So what we're gonna do is go here to the text and just write something out. Let's do 4K, 60 FPS. I'm gonna change this to Montserrat. And again, we're gonna follow the same thing that we did up here, kind of with the emphasis on the font and the contrast. So I'm gonna do medium here or bold and just make this small, like 22. And change this to white, like that. And now I can add an auto layout again. So add auto layout. And now what I can do is add a fill to this. So hit fill. And you know what? Let's actually change the text here. So let me rename this to a card up here. Open this up, grab the text, and make this black. Okay. So now what I can do, check this out, super cool. I can just write out a text here. I wrote out this, get those slow motions at supreme quality. Again, I kind of followed the same thing I did here. So the same color and the font, I'm just gonna copy paste it here to this. And now check this out, I can just hold this and drag it in here. Now if it doesn't appear, you can hold Control and then just drop it like that. And as you can see, it's automatically gonna resize this. Now let me go back because I want this content to go vertically. So I'm gonna change from horizontal to vertical. So now when I drag and hold Control in here and drop it, as you can see, you have the blue line. Now it's gonna add it vertically, not horizontally anymore. Okay, actually I'm gonna make this a bit darker, something like that. And now check this out, I can even drag this and position it the way I want. If I double click, super cool. This auto layout thing is awesome. I'm gonna leave it like that. Let's go to the card. Maybe we want more space in between these two, so I can do something like 30. And again, the padding here only applies at the edges. Okay, so if I bring this up, it only applies to the edge. If I bring this down, it only applies to the edge. This is for the content in between. Okay, so let's grab the image as well. The first one I did was this one. It's very big, but it's okay. That's what she said. Let me hold Shift, drag this down. And again, just, I think if the picture is small, so holding Shift, let me make this smaller, you don't even need to hold Control. It's just gonna detect it automatically and you can drop it in. But if it's bigger, it doesn't work. So if it's like this, as you can see, if I drag it over, it doesn't work. So you have to hold Control and drop it. Okay, so cool little thing that I didn't know. Let me just drop it in here. But the problem is now, I don't really want this here. I want this camera to stretch all the way there. But as you can see, if I do this, it's gonna stretch with the content, and I don't want that. So if you don't want that, you can grab the card here and you can change the auto layout to a fixed width. So click the fixed width, now grab the picture, check this out, and now it works. Now it works nicely. And what I can do to get rid of that margin there, go to the card, and just get rid of that vertical spacing. And there we go, super cool. Again, if I want to change the positions of things, super easy, super nice. You can do it so quickly with this auto layout. I love it. But we're gonna keep it like that. And lastly, I'm gonna add a border radius to this, like 10, something like that. Just bring this up here. And again, we can kind of do the same thing. We can add another auto layout. So on this card, I'm gonna hit Shift A or right click on the card and add auto layout. I don't know where it is. Where is you? Where is you, my friend? Cannot find. Shift A, added auto layout. So as you can see now I have a frame 2 here and card. So I can rename this to cards, like that. And now grab this card, Control C, Control V, and duplicate this 2 more times. So again, now we have another set of cards. Whew, nice. So now what we can do is grab this image and just change it and change the text to as well. Full frame. Okay, you can change the text. I'm gonna do this at the end. I'm gonna attach the final file as well for you. And again, the cool part now is I can grab these cards and kind of just move them around wherever I want them to. For now, let's just change the images. So I'm gonna just delete this one, delete, and delete. Oops, double click, delete. And let me just find those that I have. So I think it's this one I edited. Yes, because it's kind of red looking. No, this is not the one. I think I edited this one. Yes. Shift, again, these pictures were edited the same way. Hold Control, drop it in there, just make this smaller, something like that. Okay, let's do this one too, the last image. Where is the last image? There we go. There we go, this big hodonkadonk of a lens. So let's drop this in here too. Make this smaller to kind of match. Again, the important thing here is for these to match the size, because if you have one card that's super big, it's not gonna look that nice if these are all different sizes. So something like this. This is exaggerated, of course, but if you have the same size going on here, as you can see, this is bigger, it just doesn't look that good. So I'm just gonna grab this and bring it in like that. And now you can use the grid or something else to match this more precisely. I'm just gonna do it manually now. Okay, now let's add a bit of space in between the cards. So go here and just push this out to something like 50, like that. And just drop it in kind of the center here. And again, you can use the grid, the thing that I showed you at the beginning, to position perfectly, but I kind of want to move on fast now. But in the final file, this is all applied. So what I want to do, I'm going to bring this up and up, is I'm going to add a nice little wave down here just to add a bit more interest, because it looks kind of flat now. So just go here, grab the pen tool, just do a nice curve like that, and bring this down and around, and then get rid of the stroke, and the color is going to be red. Okay, so let's get this thing, hit done, and then find it. Here it is, vector 1, and just drag it in here, right there. All right, so somewhere behind it. There we go. It just adds a bit of interest and it looks nice. Now I'm gonna drag this a bit down so it doesn't really cover that much of the content. And there we go. Now, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the gradient now anymore, since we have this color. So I'm gonna kind of simplify everything and just go here to the cards and just get rid of this gradient and change it to a solid color like that. Okay, I'm gonna grab a darker one, not black, but let's kind of grab a point from here in the middle, something like that. All right, just simplifies it a bit. I mean, you can keep the gradient if you like that. Sure, why not? Let's just bring this up. Oh, you know what I want to add that I forgot is 3 little dots here to kind of symbolize a navigation through our page. And maybe if you want, we can add a prototyping to this later on to kind of add animations. Let me know if you want to see that. So for now, what I'm going to do is just grab the ellipse, just drag out a 20 circle here, add the color red to indicate that this page is active, and then do 2 more. So holding down shift, just drag out. Actually, let's do another one, 20. Let's see how that is. It looks good. Let's grab all of these and bring them down. Again, I'm going to position them at the edge here and in the center. So these 2 are going to have kind of an inactive look to them. So I'm just going to get one of these grays like that. I'm going to group everything here, Control G, and rename this to nav like that. So I can copy this over here now. Holding Alt, I can drag it to this page, put them to the center again. Again, it's really nice if you have the grid to kind of center everything here. but there it is. And make sure to bring it to the edge so it matches up with this part. The struggle, there we go. Whew, okay. So now what I can do is grab this. As you can see, if I click, I can just drag this to indicate that the second page is active. So it makes it super simple. And finally, we can add the last one. Control C, Control V. I should have done that at the beginning because now I have everything set up nicely, but it is what it is. So let's drag this down. Actually, I'm gonna duplicate the first page because on the last one, do I want the gradient? Actually, no, let's not deal with the gradient. Let me just copy this over, drag this, and this is kind of the last page saying coming soon. So rename this to coming soon. I kept this super simple, so I'm gonna remove the whole card system. I don't need this either. This, I'm gonna change from this to the last page. And now, again, I kind of wanna focus on the camera. So I have a picture of the camera that I'm gonna drag in here. Make this smaller. And again, we could have used the gradient here if we wanted to. Let me just drop this in the center, make this bigger, something like that. Okay. Again, we can use the gradient, but to make it a bit more interesting, I'm just gonna do a circle in the back. So drag out a circle like that. Drop this in here and add that red color and just bring it to the back. Okay, so there we go. And then can kind of resize this to something that you like. So something like that, okay? And now I'm gonna bring this features actually right here on top. In this case, I think this looks a bit nicer. So I'm gonna actually shift everything a bit down like that and this down. Just change this to coming soon. Okay, you can actually center it up here. I'm not sure why I'm not doing this. You can hit here, just grab the text. See, you can kind of center it where you want it on the page. So I want this perfectly centered, so there we go. And you can do the same thing with the camera. So I can move it perfectly to the center and the red eclipse as well. There we go. Okay, so there we go. That's kind of the gist of it. Now, if we want to animate this, we can using the prototype tool and then finally implement it as a website. So let me know if you want to see a animation part using Figma, maybe clicking on these buttons to kind of bring you to another page and adding nice animations. And maybe you want to see this implemented in a website. So let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Again, the nice thing about this is if you want to use it on a website, you can just grab the image kind of to the size that you have it and then just export it. So it's going to look nice. So for example, these images were all differently sized, but if I grab them like this now, let me kind of show you, just grab this image and just export it. So export PNG, I'm gonna say yes, grab this one and export this, yes. Now, the nice thing is even though those images were differently sized, when I export them from Figma, I have them at the same size. So there we go. So now when I add it to my website, it's gonna be super, super easy. So it's still nice to kind of design your things in Figma because you can resize things and it's gonna make your life easier. Okay, so that's gonna be it. I'm gonna kind of fix these up a bit because now I see that this is actually not centered and these as well a bit. And then I'm gonna link it down in the description. And oh my goodness, I talk so much. I need sleep now. So thanks so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.